It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Grouse, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of Constellations, Da, and Honeymoon in Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. Good evening. How are you tonight, Leslie?
I'm fine, Charlie. How are you?
Good. Okay.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, but we're back. We've got plenty to talk about. We're going to start with Constellations. Now, this is a new play by Nick Payne. With Jake Gyllenhaal, excuse me, and Ruth Wilson. This is Nick Payne applying the multiverse theory, which is basically millions of variations on every decision we make or don't make can occur, and he applies it to a couple. Thus, this couple comes together, or they don't. They stay together, or they don't. They break up and get back together, or they don't. She develops a serious illness, or she doesn't. Basically, the only constant here is that he's a beekeeper, she's a physicist. So it's an interesting concept, but it does require you to sit through similar scenes over and over, which in some cases is good because it's kind of hard to pick up on what's happening. But the good news is, if you don't like the plot, don't worry. There'll be another one along in a minute. So,
and it's only 90 minutes long, so
yes,
yeah, that's the other good
70
part of it.
minutes, and if you're not on time, they don't seat you, which is a very regrettable policy.
Were you not on time?
I was on time, but I still think it's a lousy policy, even if I am on time.
I find it interesting, though, because our fellow critics went into this whole thing about how it was based on string theory, and they made it sound as if they all understood string theory, and I'll be damned, I don't understand string theory. Okay. I don't believe they do either. Okay. And I got a little pissed off about it because really it's David Ives all in the timing, where you hit a bell and you change what happens and you do it over again and it's different.
Or the episode of Star Trek where Worf finds himself in a dozen different realities.
Or If Then. I mean, it's any one of...
This is If Then squared, basically.
Yeah, without any music. And it's just... It's a lot of nothing as far as I'm concerned. And they had such thick accents, I didn't understand half of what they were saying, regardless of which reality they were in.
Well, that was the beauty of it, because a lot of the realities were similar, so they did the same scene over and over, which gets boring. But if you're not quite sure what happened, they're basically repeating it for you so you can get through the accents. I
love these two actors. She's marvelous. She just became really well known because of The Affair, but I loved her on Luther before I ever saw any of this. And of course, Gyllenhaal is Gyllenhaal.
Right. Well, he's the calm, basically straight man. She's the outgoing, ever so slightly bawdy, you know.
Yes, well, I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't. And they've got it. If you go to their site, or maybe we'll be able to show it to you. They've got a plea now. It's called $30 under 30 for anyone who can prove that they're under 30 years old. They can get a $30 ticket. And that makes sense because maybe this is for a lot of younger people. Maybe this is for people new to the theater who, don't have great expectations when they go to see two big stars, come together for a show. And maybe they just want to get the younger audience. They're probably getting a lot of the gray-haired crowd, and because who has money to go anymore,
Well, I think that's a major problem. That the theater is so expensive. Again, I think that younger people will come in with expectations. Well, and maybe they'll enjoy the play, maybe they won't. But here is my summation of it. I am sure that in one universe, this play is a major, major hit. And in another universe,
very funny, Charlie.
It closed on opening night.
It was very popular in London, but of course they understood the accents.
Now, in
over
this
there.
Universe, I would say split the difference.
Yeah. Well, so how many would you give it?
Well, I guess splitting the difference is 2.5.
Oh, I see, 2.5.
So
that's generous. I really would stretch it to say 2. If I could have understood what they were saying, and I'm pretty good on accents, but I just didn't get what they were saying.
I more or less did. Well, there's one scene where they're communicating in sign language, so I guess in one reality they're both deaf, or they're rehearsing for a revival of Children of a Lesser God.
Yes, that's not funny.
But
I laughed.
What other explanation would there be for it?
I don't know. Do I have to explain these things too, Charlie? We just have to
talk
about
well, maybe in a different universe.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to a play that also kind of deals with the supernatural because it involves.
Well, it involves a ghost, and it's called Da, and this is a revival of a revival that's been revived twice now at the IRT, and both performances.
So is this the same production?
No,
like Cabaret, where they've got the cast back?
No, not at all. But they did get one of the cast members back. He played a different role in it, and that's Karen O'Reilly.
So in other words, it's not a revival of a revival, but it's a revival of a play that they've done before?
Yeah,
sort of,
but it was already a revival when they did it the first time.
Right, right.
So on Broadway, it was done with Barney Hughes.
Yes.
Barnett Hughes, the wonderful Barnett Hughes,
yes.
who played it totally differently. Let me get the concept out to you. It's 1960. It's Ireland, and a young man is coming home to see his very usually played, I thought, dour, how you said it, D-O-U-R, father, who in this play is not dour at all. He's very charming. He's a charming,
happy-go-lucky, roll with the punches type of guy.
Yeah, so it kind of changes what the play is about when that happens, because it makes the young man very angry all the time. And he comes back to see his father. But what's really happening is his father's
comes back
dead.
to bury his father.
Yes, but his father shows up in every scene, and you get the guy talking about what a terrible person his father was, and then you see the father coming in and saying things and being interactive, and it's interesting. It's by Hugh Leonard, who was very popular for a while and did a separate play about one of the characters in this play. But that's all to the other side.
Your dad, came to the mother's funeral, and I never forgot that to him.
He was always fond of you.
Fond of him? Fond of that one? Jesus, will you give over? My grave's too narrow to turn in.
In his way.
In the end, was it? If you don't mind me asking.
Oh, it wasn't so.
Push.
Scat, out!
That wasn't too bad a day.
Piss off. Sit there. No one's minding you.
I knew it'd hold up for you. You were lucky with the weather when you came over at Christmas, too. Mind, I wouldn't give much for tomorrow. When you can see the mountains of Mourne, that's a sure sign it'll rain. Ah, yes.
Tea will be left here, ready for
It needn't be, because you're not going.
Why haven't I?
You're not setting foot out of here.
You won't stop me.
Will I not?
You are always the same, and you always will be the same. The one time I'm invited to a person's house, you begrudge it to me. Well, I'll go wherever I like, and I'll see whoever I like.
You, when you go over here. I'm the boss in this place, and I'll stay the boss.
She's only going for a cup of tea.
Aye, that's what she'd have us.
Is this the young man? How do you do?
Shake hands, son.
Oh, a bookworm like myself, I see.
Move out of the way and let the man sit down.
Oh, here you are, sir.
Don't call him sir.
Now, you'll sit there and have a cup of tea in your hand.
No, I will not.
Don't mind him. Yes, you will. You
You're a
will.
foolish woman. In these times we may take hospitality for granted.
You any good? Who once bought him 6 razor blades for Christmas?
I was broke.
And why? Because you bought a pair of nylons for that typist from Cappoquin who let you grope her up against the railings of the customs house. 6 Gillette blades.
Oh, there was great shaving in them blades.
You weren't even here when he died.
It was sudden.
I think I have one of them still. Hold on.
Sit down. It was sudden.
How does this stand up? And it stands up very well, I thought. I thought that Charlotte did a lovely job. Charlotte Moore is the artistic director of the company, and Karen is the producing member of the producing director. And so we've had Karen on as a guest.
Yes, and Karen plays the title role.
And Karen plays the son.
I'm sorry, Karen plays the son.
Yes, and the father is played by a lovely man whose work is new to me.
Yes,
His
Paul
name
O'Brien.
is Paul O'Brien, and he did a marvelous job, I thought.
Right.
And a favorite of ours, John Keating, was in it. He's in a lot of their plays, and he does a wonderful job.
And if nothing else, there's no bar scene, and it's an Irish play, so this must have been very
it
gratifying
it
for you.
It warmed my heart.
Yes.
But this play, when I first saw it, really explained my own grandmother to me, and she was Polish. So
Okay.
there is the Irish in my family is on my grandfather's side. And I have to say that it explained something to me about older people in many different ethnic groups who insist on leaving something to their children. So it's so important to them to leave something to their children.
Well, financially, do you mean, or
financially, to leave because that's a mark of your. Well, that's.
Is that really limited to any one culture?
I just said in every ethnic group.
But not ethnic. Also, I would think.
Everybody's an ethnic group.
Okay.
Every ethnic group.
Okay.
I don't know what you thought I said, Charlie.
I thought. Well,
I was talking about the universality of the theme.
Okay.
Which is that older people want desperately to be able to leave something to their children.
Yes.
It's a sign of having been here, number one, and number two, having been successful in some way. And so this play explained my Polish grandmother to me and why she was penurious about something so that she would then have money to leave to us. And we kept saying, Grandma, please take a trip. Grandma, please do something. And she didn't. She insisted on on saving something so we would have it. And that's exactly what happens in this play. And it disturbs the young man no end, because he wanted his father to enjoy things. And you know, it's a sweet little vignette about the father and son. It's and that kind of relationship.
Right. It you know, thinking about it, it could have been a sitcom pilot.
Well, yes, if there were more, then you'd have to keep visiting the ghost, I guess.
Well, the ghost would keep. Well, the father follows the son. It doesn't look like they're going to be apart anytime soon.
Well, if the son,
yes.
your concept would be if the ghost comes to America with the son when he goes back to Boston, I guess would be the way that would work.
The playwright does leave that possibility open.
Well, what the playwright did do is he wrote another play about a different character in this, the one that's played by John Keating, who's the good friend of the father's, and in the sequel, as I remember, because that play also went to Broadway, Drum is the character. It's not played by John Keating. I'm sorry, it's played by Sean Gormley. Drum was perhaps having a fling with the wife, or perhaps wanted to have a fling with the wife, who we never see in this play because she's long gone.
Right.
So it's just an interesting.
That doesn't necessarily stop people from appearing in this play.
And how much of this is based on fact? Again, it seems to be a much more universal story than simply an Irish story.
There is a certain universality in it. At some point, I was a little disappointed because I have known about this play for many years. This was the first time I had ever seen it. I didn't see it with Bernard Hughes. But I have wanted to see it for quite some time, and I did. And maybe my expectations were a little too high. But I thought, all right, it's all right. It didn't have any family revelations for me the way it did for you. So perhaps I see it differently. I mean, he was in this version he's a nice guy who occasionally got stepped on. The father, and like there's this one scene where his pension is being and he has to settle for a lot less, and he's a lot more okay with it than his son feels he should be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much that his father is upset that the son is upset about being left, although yes, there's a certain thing there, but the fact that he felt his father always let himself be walked over by everybody, and how that fit in with Bernard Hughes' again gruffness. It's hard for me to see.
Yeah,
this is a totally different
different
interpretation.
For my even bringing it up, it doesn't help this production. But this production.
But it's interesting in that different productions can go on so far variations.
But this production,
just like a multi-universe.
Oh, you're going to bring that one up, huh? Well, but I was about to say that this production stands very much on its own 2 feet or 4 feet with father and son.
Both good performances.
Very good performances.
Maybe non-traditional for this play.
Right. Well,
they take a new approach.
But I've lived to see three performances of this play, and I think to myself, I don't feel like I've lived long enough to do that. So, But it's a perfect play for the Irish Rep to do. Perfect. And they're in their new space for this year in the DR2 Theatre.
This is a temporary space until their space is renovations.
We talked about it. We showed photos. We actually, if anyone wants to
catch
go to
that
YouTube
online
and see it, right? And there are beautiful photos of what the new theater, what the new refurbished theater on 22nd Street.
I think they will still take donations for that, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. You can help the capital gains. That's not what it's called. Capitalization program by getting in touch. Go online and take a look.
And I think it's time for conclusions.
Well, I just did my conclusion. I think it's since it's
so you say 5?
Oh no, not 5. No, I didn't say 5. I said fine. I said
fine.
Yeah, very.
Well, how many?
I would say 3.5. I enjoyed it. It's a minor work, but I enjoyed it very much.
I would say closer to 3 for me, but I do agree with your overall feeling on this.
I like that.
Okay.
Now the big blockbuster.
Honeymoon in Vegas. Yet another wonderful import from our friends at the Paper Mill Playhouse.
I thought you were going to say in Hollywood, which is the same thing.
I don't have a problem with turning a Hollywood movie into a play, into a musical, any more than I have turning a play into a musical or a book into a musical. Okay. It's not the matter of the source, it's what you do with it.
Okay.
And what they do with this is really, really good. This is the first time that I have ever gone to a musical by Jason Robert Brown and actually enjoyed the musical
That's
instead
a
of.
shame.
Well,
You didn't like Parade?
I did not like Parade.
Oh, it was
I did
brilliant.
not like the last 5 years. I mean,
Well, get used to it. It's coming out as a movie now. It's going. It's gone the route backwards.
I will.
It's gone backwards.
I will go and see that. I will go and see it. I certainly was disappointed with Bridges of Madison County last year.
I would agree with you totally.
But this I like.
Grab a machine and start yanking that lever. Yank that lever. Chances are swell, you'll get lucky forever. Jackpot! Vegas is, was, and always will be the hottest of all hot spots. I like dancing on the pier. I like Broadway once a year, but I love Betsy. I like visits to the zoo. I like opera. That's not true, but I love Betsy. It's been 5 years and I'm ready. Get the sparklers and confetti. Give a
Betsy's getting married. Yes, sirree, it's true. Finally, Jack got it through his head. Betsy's getting married, long past overdue. 31 years of holding tight and crossing my fingers every night. You better believe I'm wearing white, 'cause Betsy's getting wet. Let's have a honeymoon in Vegas, do the city up right.
We'll have a honeymoon in Vegas, we'll just stay up all night.
And we can walk down the strip as bride and groom, and hang a little sign on a hotel room saying honeymoon in Vegas, singing Cirque du Soleil.
Have a
Honeymoon in Vegas, I don't know how we'll pay, but the time is right and the worst is through, and I can figure it out now that I got you.
what I say?
Las Vegas!
Lead the way to Las Vegas, the land where dreams come true. Come on, Las Vegas.
Now, the first thing that I'm thinking is, this is Tony Danza playing the James Caan role. Now, James Caan, Sonny Corleone, and bassist Tony Danza is Tony. So, does he have what it takes to play, a card shark gangster? And the answer is yes, he does. He comes out. Yeah, okay.
Except that he's still working on movies and television. When he's not on, when it's not his turn, his little light goes out. He had a henchman in this.
Yes.
You know the henchman who's played by David Joselberg? Is that his name, David Joselberg? No, this is the guy with the Mickey. I can't read it.
Matthew
Okay, Matthew what?
Matthew
Saldivar. Matthew
yes.
Saldivar.
Yes.
If they stand next to each other, you see what a theater person is versus what a television person is. This kid comes out and he's on stage and suddenly all the attention goes to him, even though he's standing next to Tony Danza, because he knows how to command the stage.
Right, well,
Tony Danza lets the camera come to him, but right now there's no camera.
Well, Tony Danza has been on stage before. He was in a very good revival of The Iceman Cometh a few years ago. And he played the bartender.
Yes, I know.
And I think he does well here. I think he's got good presence. He has a wonderful tap dance.
Yes,
he does. I would call his singing voice serviceable more than anything else.
I've seen him in cabaret. He's got a serviceable voice. I agree with you.
The one thing I will say, when James Caan did the role, both of them play the nice guy for the most part. Mm-hmm. And then, you see...
And then you see the underbelly, right.
But in James Caan, you're always looking and waiting for Sonny Corleone to break out. Here, you're waiting for Tony Danza to break out.
Well, he does.
And he does. And again, that's kind of contrary to the character. Does he pull it off? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I almost think at the end, where he lost the girl to her true love,
and nothing happened.
That happens in the movie too. The guy walks away. He says, "That's it. I've lost." You got to know when to fold.
Danza doesn't even have a moment.
Well,
he doesn't even get a moment.
That's the thing.
It's the way it's staged.
Danza seems to be happy that there's going to be a happy ending to the play.
Yeah, he just sort of stands there.
And then that's the...
And it's like he wasn't directed to do something. Exactly. I'm pretty sure it's the direction. I don't think that he's a method actor where he can come up with stuff.
But all in all, I did like.
You had a good time.
I had a very good time. The play is based on the movie. It's this young man, because of his dying mother's last request, he's had a hard time proposing to his girlfriend. They finally decide to go to Vegas. The girl resembles Tony Danza's late wife, so he basically gets the poor schlub into a game, gets him to bet 50 grand and lose, and basically says, let me hang out with your girlfriend for a weekend. Danza ends up taking the girl to Hawaii. The guy follows them, and in a climax, the boyfriend, this is, by the way, Rob
McClure, who played Chaplin.
Who played Chaplin, but comes, doesn't come off very Chaplin-like at all.
No, well, I think the problem here is that he's not sexy enough. He's funny. He's got all the
he is a bit nerdish.
loose-limbed kind of nerdishness, yes.
And kind of reminds me of the comic book store owner on The Big Bang Theory.
Not bad. I mean, he's not sexy enough for the girl. There's no way that this very beautiful girl, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, the find in this show is Bryn O'Malley, who plays the girl.
As the girlfriend.
She is a find. You go, wow, a star is born. At least I did. Rob McClure has already had his moment. I mean, he's done Chaplin. He's gotten a Tony. He's ahead of the game. He's just not. He's playing it too schlubby. He's playing it too nerdy. Nick Cage played it in the movie. I don't remember him being quite that nerdy. And he had a sexy quality underneath it. So, I mean, Nick Cage has, for some people, a sexy quality. Not for me, but there you are. So, you know, I just kept getting all of these wrong moments. And I was looking forward to Tony Danza because I've seen his cabaret act. And when it's only him, when it's just him, he's like Tony. He's like Frank Sinatra. He's out there. In fact, I think that's what he was playing. I think he was playing Ocean's 11,
which would be very appropriate for this type of character.
Yes. So
Frank Sinatra would have been very good in this role.
Oh, please, he would have been wonderful. And I don't know who these people are. Dennis Jones and Gary Griffin are brand new names to me. The choreographer and the director.
And they did very well with this, I think.
Well, I'm saying that the mistakes that were made are within those moments of not. And I don't know how.
And I like Nancy Opel as the mother.
Yeah, well, she's funny. She's always funny. Nancy Opel is a joy.
You had a great comment on that.
I did?
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember.
Because somebody wasn't available?
I'm lost.
They couldn't get...
I got it. I remember now. It was because Jackie Hoffman must not have been available.
Yes.
So for the role of Jackie Hoffman will be played by Nancy Opel.
Yes.
Sorry, I got it. I remember. Thank you for remembering my line, and I didn't remember it. You should have reminded me.
Anyway, all in all, the one thing I did like the score. I mean, Jason Robert Brown is a very talented composer, but when I've heard his songs, it's like, all right, yes, you're talented, but I'm still not enjoying myself. Here, I'm enjoying myself, and I like the book by Andrew Bergman. The one thing where the musical let me down was the Flying Elvises.
Oh, I love
now that was the climax of the movie.
Yes,
he's got to dress up like Elvis and jump out of a plane because that's the only way he can get back to Vegas to get his girl back.
And you didn't like that? I thought it was
This is the Rob McClure character. Now, I felt it needed a little more pizzazz, and I thought it needed a little more Elvis.
Well, it was about the only pizzazz there was, except for the showgirls. There were too few showgirls. Okay. You know, it looked...
Interesting that you're noticing that.
Well, they're just because when they do shows in Vegas with showgirls, they have showgirls. You know, it's a stage full of showgirls. Yes. This is a low budget, I guess, because it came from the Paper Mill Playhouse. You know, it's a very low budget.
They could up the budget for
Broadway.
They could.
They should have.
You know, they have a much higher budget on Broadway.
I want to make a comment about your comment, though, about Jason Robert Brown. Jason Robert Brown is one of several new composers, one of them being... it's
not so new when you think about it. He's been
around the last 20 years, but within the last 20 years, there's Andrew Lippa, there's Jason Robert Brown, there's Irving Berlin's grandson, whose name I cannot remember. Okay. But you know who I mean.
Actually, I don't.
Okay, well...
You sure you're not talking about Richard Rodgers' grandson?
Was Richard Rodgers' grandson. Thank you. I knew it was some famous composer. Anyway, but I don't know who it is, and I can't come up with his name. But the point is that these guys... He's not. No, there's another guy as well. Anyway, so all of this being said, your comment about liking him for the first time is my comment is, gee, he's really settling for doing this kind of Broadway sound instead of what he's really good at, which is new music. You know, there comes a point where we can't always have the old stuff and where we need something new, an injection of new. And I just think that he's one of the people who has had a good chance of doing that.
I think most of his stuff has been, Broadway-like.
No, most of it hasn't. I mean, Parade was almost operatic. It was fantastic.
And you're saying operatic is new?
No, but I'm okay. All right, I'm not going to. I won't follow it up.
I agree.
I think you get my
with
point.
the operatic sound certainly for.
I think you get my point.
Bridges
though.
of Madison County,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure.
Well, I
that's
didn't
making
like
things-
Bridges of Madison County,
Yeah.
period. So it wasn't
Yes.
just poor Jason Robert Brown there. But anyway, so what would you give Vegas? Much more than I would give it.
I would
probably.
give this 4 playbills.
Yeah,
I
I would
really,
give it-
I had a wonderful time.
I didn't. I was really upset with it. I would give it a minor 2.5.
Oh,
I did not have a
wow.
good time. I know everybody else did. I've said what my
Yes.
reasons for not feeling that about it are. So you know,
Yes.
this is a tough night. I brought someone who loved it. She had seen the movie. She's a young girl. She doesn't
Right.
know much Broadway stuff. She just loved it. She had a good time. You know, if that's all anybody wants to have, that's fine. I thought that
Gee,
there was
going to
I
see
thought
a
there could've been-
musical to have a good time.
I know, what an odd suggestion.
What an odd,
I know.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
are we done?
maybe they'll do a revival and they'll have a barber at the Hotel of Hills people. Would that make you happy?
I'll tell you who I'd like to see in that show, though.
Yes.
I just went to see. Oh golly, her name won't come. Just went to see something called Rashida Speaking, and the star of Rashida Speaking, and her name will not come to me. Maybe I'll find it in here if I'm lucky. Probably not. Oh dear God, it's over at the Signature, and it's not here. I can't find it. She won a Tony for Carolina Change.
Oh,
Tanya Pinkins.
Tanya
Tanya
Pinkins.
Pinkins.
Yes, yes.
And I ran into Chuck Cooper at the show, and
Speaking
I
of
thought
shows
Chuck
that I
Cooper
absolutely
and
hated.
Tanya Pinkins
in this.
in an all-black version of the Sweeney Todd.
Oh, okay,
They
good.
would
I
be astounding. No,
was afraid you were going to say this, and I'm thinking Tanya Pinkins in a showgirl costume.
would be not too bad. She's got a good. She's okay.
Really? Well,
You-
she must have lost weight.
She
since,
goes up and down.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so I think we're done.
I think we are. That is our
But
show for tonight.
do gird your loins for Anna Kendrick and the guy from Newsies and our favorite television thing, Smash, the star of that in the last 5 years, which is opening this week
All right.
for
and
Valentine's Day
when you go and see it, look for us too.
on the aisle.